Hello, everyone. I'm happy to see you in such a big number. Today, we are welcoming our guest friend, professor from our partners institution, Nova Accademia de Belle Arti, Liubov Popova. Thank you, Luba, for joining us. A small introduction of you and event. Uh, the lecture, New Fashion Directions, is part of the activities made during the Young Fashion Designers Contest, Fashion Manifestation. This contest it's celebrating 5th year's anniversary this year, and all the years the jury, head of the jury was Liubov Popova and still is. She has huge experience, more than 40 years spent in the fashion industry. She used to be a costume designer, publicist, author of several books, and still teaching, guiding students in school, Nova Accademia de Belle Arti. Her experience is amazing. I always enjoying listening to her, and I'm really proud of having her today. So yeah, Lyubov, floor is yours, and we will listen you carefully and will be inspired.
Thank you very much for your presentation. May we start?
Yes.
Okay, so we will see about new fashion directions. It is about fashion and, of course, lifestyle, because everything is connected. Actually, there is something different from last year when I had the opportunity to speak with you, and it seemed for a while that the epidemic situation was getting better. But now we have another worry again about the future with this virus, etc. But anyway, the atmosphere, the situation is changed, and we can see a kind of optimism, and fashion brands are growing, doing much better than 1 year ago. So in general, we have optimistic view on the future in fashion. So let's see the main directions. Big fashion brands extend their business to hotels, restaurants, cafe, food, and lifestyle in general. Okay, it is also the consequence of the epidemic, because people used to spend less for fashion and more for food and wellness and things like that. But also, generally, big brands follow the policy of dealing with different fields in business. So we can see Armani, Valentino, Dior, etc., extending more and more their business to other categories as food and hotels, etc. So it is partly because of the situation created by epidemic disaster, but not only. It is generally the policy of big brands to extend their business to other categories. Another point is growing vintage market, big fashion brands selling their own vintage, Valentino, Gucci, Burberry. A new way to communicate fashion. We will see it later on some examples. So more important is now e-commerce, and for this reason, the main business for some brands is represented now by e-commerce and not so much as before through the stores. So this is something new, how to communicate and how to sell business using internet. Then another direction is natural, ecological, sustainable. It is more and more important, and especially young generation is very sensitive towards this kind of problems as green, sustainable, etc. So, in at one hand, it is a good policy from convinced in green economy brands. At the other hand, I must say, sometimes it's more about marketing than about real intention of do something sustainable. Sorry, but I have to be clear about this problem. Then another point, bright colors and desire to recover sophisticated style, opposite to pajama look. Last year, we were talking about comfortable look, pajamas, fleece, slippers, staying at home, etc. Now we've had enough of all this stuff, and people have the desire to go back to something more sophisticated, bright colors, and trying to live in more normal way. Then another theme I will show you, new feminine lingerie look. We have seen something very feminine through the inspirations from the past centuries lingerie. We will see it, crinolines and corsets, etc. Then the slogan, "It's me," which means personal style, which is much more important than to try to catch the last trend, the last new idea. This is very important now, and some brands, as for example, Gucci and others, they pushed this idea to try to be personal, mix together what you want, etc. Then there is a trend, new couture. We have seen it last year through the menswear couture, something new, menswear couture made by Dolce Gabbana, as an example, or it was Dior also. Now we will see new couture on example of the brand Vêtements. And then the last subject is anti-fashion phenomenon. So let's start to see some examples. First of all, we have to consider the new generation market, which is completely different from what happened one decade ago. So the statistics say by 2025, millennials and under 25 years old consumers will be the dominant demographic with 65-70% share of the luxury market. So we have to consider exactly this change of generation. Young people, activists, if we can call them in this way, activists on social issues more than before. Diversity and inclusivity are the crucial issues for these consumers. Growing influence of new culture and subcultures. Yes, this is very important as a new stimulus for the fashion collections. Footwear, growing demand for sneakers, and the must-have accessories. Meanwhile, I can add that stiletto heels represent now a minimum on the market. Most of the time, we can see sneakers and flat shoes. This attitude is changed definitely compared with some years ago. Then Z generation consumers oriented to the entry-level products, affordable luxury items. What does it mean, entry level? The cheapest in the company's product range. So not something expensive, but just something just to have the touch of favorite brand. And it happens in Europe and in USA. Entry-level products designed for somebody buying this type of product for the first time. So it is not expensive, but just for the pleasure to belong to the consumers of that luxury brand or another luxury brand. Then special editions and new labels born on the web. Uh, Considering that web is now a very important channel for selling fashion and everything, food, everything. New labels profit of this opportunity to sell through web. Rising relevance of the second-hand market. Yes, this is very important development of the consuming fashion. Aspirations of the younger generation for a more circular and less expensive mode of consumption. And then the last one, but not the least one, sustainability and environmental issues. Also, as I said, especially young generation, they are very sensitive toward this kind of problems. Just to remember an important philosopher of 20th century, Guy Debord, who said, men resemble their times more than their fathers. Exactly this. The young generation, they are not following the styles or examples of their fathers, which means of the former generation, but they follow exactly what happens now, here and now. So not looking back on the former styles or behaviors, but creating new styles and behaviors in consideration of a time we are living now. New strategies and trends. Just about new generation consumes, web commerce, virtual shows, new professional profiles required, video production, web market. Yes, this is a new a range of professions nowadays born with a web system, web commerce, web communication, and so on. Another thing important is about collections is no seasons, reduced number of collections a year. Everybody realized that fashion had to stop with a number of collections a year and especially reduce the stocks, etc. We will see it. And also considering that we sell on the globe in totally, so the climate is different in different parts of the globe. So no seasons is the more reasonable attitude. Co-ed fashion shows, which means menswear and women's wear presented together, it continues, already well established as the way to present fashion. See now, buy now system. Well, somebody follows this system, but not all the brands do the same. So it depends on the policy of each brand. A gender trend, more and more important and more accepted by different societies, different social milieu. So this is very up-to-date direction. Growing importance of vintage, we mentioned it already. local production and support to artisans. Well, especially in Italy, it started a big campaign to support artisanal production, because this is the way to make difference between a cheap market and sophisticated quality of products. So we need to keep artisan traditions, local traditions, as the ways to create something different from mass market. Absolutely. New couture means that the customers, the clients of couture nowadays are different from the past, and we will see some examples. Fabrics from factory stocks. Well, it exists because because of pandemia. Last year, textile industries, at least in Italy, suffered a lot. They were going down about 30%, losing their normal production and normal business, of course. So for this reason, instead of producing new fabrics, there is this trend of use what already exists, but now they're getting exhausted, and new fabrics fortunately started to be produced. Um, Ecological, new materials, recycling, and biofabrication. It is about researches of something more ecological, more sustainable, and with a lot of scientific researches about it. No animal fur. Definitely, it seems that animal fur, at least in European countries and in United States, not anymore presented in fashion collections. Every day we receive news that this brand or another one, they declare that they stop using animal fur, etc. So it is so. It is already the main direction. Meanwhile, Russia and China, they continue to use animal fur. And Asian markets. Asian markets, it's the main market nowadays for fashion, together with United States recovering after the pandemic, and Russia. So the three markets are leading in fashion in what regards fashion industry and fashion market. Why it's so? Because we know historically that fashion is a phenomenon connected with social mobility, which means the possibility to change your social position in a better way, going up on the social stair. Well, Europe is not in this situation of strong social mobility. Asian markets better, because they have to recover something better in economy compared with their past history. And USA recovering more and more from pandemic critical situation. So we can say also that social mobility exists there. But Europe is suffering in this sense. Generally, we have seen in September the collections of Pret-a-Porter in Milan for spring summer 2022. 22. And generally what we have seen, optimism return to the live catwalk shows together with visual projects and performances. We will have menswear collections in Milan in February. And it's been already announced that most of the collections will be presented on live catwalk shows. So it seems going in that direction. But at the same time, something new, something more attracting attention are developed more and more as the way to present the new collections. We will see some examples about it. Colorful, optimistic. This is an example from Moschino collection. A Moschino collection for spring, summer, and as you can see, it was co-ed edition, menswear and women's wear together, very bright and optimistic. This is just the communication about the fashion shows in Milan for the season spring summer 2022. This picture means that finally it will be live, about live shows. So this is why the pictures of a group of models. At the same time, through very creative videos we have seen through the last year, we are accustomed nowadays to something more creative than just models going up and down on the podium. So even if we see fashion shows on the podium, the brands try to be more creative in the way to present the shows, not in a very traditional way. It's not, it seems not enough, because at the end, fashion shows are nowadays a kind of theatrical performance anyway. So an example, the brand Vivetta, it's not a big brand, but very interesting and followed by fashion people. Me personally, I adore them because they are very original. Well, you can see the way to present the fashion show, something between theatrical and fashion show. It is definitely one of the new directions. Mixed show on catwalk and in video. Just two examples, Balenciaga and Prada. For example, Balenciaga on catwalk and in video, Simpson cartoons on mega screen in Théâtre du Châtelet in Paris. It was a kind of fashion show happening, fun, all together. Just not to be traditional show and not to be boring. Well, I suppose everybody have an idea, has an idea about this event. It is on through the Simpson cartoon and live models all together. As you can see, it's all about joke. Ole, ole, a large fit jacket in black, Balenciaga hooded blanket cape, $290 US. Well, we have to say something about the designer of Balenciaga brand, Demna Gvasalia, Georgian, who spent years as a kind of homeless, or more or less homeless, in Berlin. And from that, his experience, He's been strongly influenced by the concept of street style, but especially Berlin has actually a style in a way of dressing different absolutely from Italy, for example. And so you can see in Demna Gvasalia always something ironic, satiric. So the blanket as a homeless, but which costs $2,290. So this is a kind of way to mock on fashion, addicted to fashion brands. And you can see the broken writings here, and again the jacket in denim, but with enormous cost, just because there is the name of Balenciaga on. Very creative video is that one from Mugler. Eventually, you can find it on internet. Mugler Fall Winter 2021. It is very original from technical and aesthetical point of view, playing with what it was actually the original feminine image from Thierry Mugler when he was designing himself the brand. His ideal woman was strong, dominating, sexy, etc. But I suggest you to have a look on this video because it's really beautiful and original. She's the daughter of Madonna, modeling in this video, in this film. Then Prada, it is another example of innovative show. Simultaneously in Milan and Shanghai. I have seen it on video, on internet, and it was actually contemporarily in Milan and Shanghai, as you can see here. So, of course, the collection is the same, but you could see from Shanghai what happens in Milan on the catwalk show, and vice versa from Milan to Shanghai. This is the first collection created in collaboration between Miuccia Prada and Raf Simons. What to say about collaborations of this kind? I will show you other examples of this kind of collaboration. Why? What is the sense of putting together different designers or one brand with another designer also owning or designing another brand? Well, we've had another example of collaboration between Versace and Fendi. And Donatello Versace said, okay, I accepted this idea with enthusiasm, and it was marketing to say me do this or do that. So she's been very direct in this sense. We have to see as the motivation not only a kind of fresh blood from the point of view of creativity, but mostly probably it is about marketing, because introduce something unexpected, something which can generate curiosity. It helps fashion brands every time. So I would say from the point of view of creativity, Prada and Raf Simons, they are very close as the concept of style for sure. So there is marketing, but there is also a real sense of it. Then trend anti-fashion. The most important is to have a personal style. Yes, and we can see just a couple of examples. Um, Gucci deliberately mocking about logos, about brands. Uh, yes, they make big money with it, but at the same time, as they want to keep distance from it, because they are directed to the new generation. A new generation have a different attitude to the logos or to the brands. Even they love them, but in some way the attitude is different. I want to comment this one, even if it's from the former collection, but this is a real philosophy of this attitude of anti-fashion. You see, the fleece, normal fleece, okay, but there is logo Balenciaga, etc. But especially the bag, you know, there are plastic bags used on the markets, especially by buyers bringing their stuff to the regional markets, and it's absolutely ugly. But this ugliness is exactly anti-fashion. But at the same time, look on very sophisticated boots. So if you look on all together, you can understand actually this philosophy. Ugly bag, but which costs more than 500 euros. It is ironic, sarcastic attitude toward the brands and brand addictions developed by people. Other examples, also bags from Balenciaga. Very banal touristic bags or just funny with cartoons, etc. But sold for 795 euros. You understand? It is sarcastic, ironic. It is anti-fashion. Maybe you are so stupid to pay them this price instead of looking yourself for something interesting and original. This is another example. It is a kind of can bag, but as a can for oil, etc. And on the same theme, we can mention the show of Balenciaga with Simpson collections, where we have seen real people and celebrities. This is absolutely anti-fashion. Nothing of so-called pretty. No, it's not pretty at all, but this is the new sense of what Balenciaga is doing. There is also Anna Wintour and other celebrities playing with this show, with this, it is a kind of theatrical performance at the end. So this is exactly the attitude we call anti-fashion. Do what you like to do. Don't worry putting together absolutely in a not traditional way the stuff you wear. Then this is the last example. Pre-fall collection from Christian Dior for 2022. Another way to present fashion, no show, no even video, but a lookbook of fashion. As traditional lookbook we see normally edited by fashion houses. But it is interesting, the inspiration, a young energy inspired by Catherine Dior, the younger sister of Monsieur Christian Dior. And it is about punk, post-punk encountered urban gardeners. So let's see what was the idea of Italian designer for Christian Dior, Maria Grazia Chiuri. Her idea was to play with uniforms from gardening to high school. And she said, in sense, uniforms are what make fashion. The idea that you gain strength by belonging to a group while also remaining an individual. Absolutely true. Especially young people, like little kids, they stay together and they were in a similar way, absolutely. Somebody who develops individual style normally is from middle age and so on. But when we speak about teenagers, normally they dress all in the same way because they're like little birds, little chickens staying all together, because this is the only way to be protected, to have force, strength. Meanwhile, step by step, when you develop your personality and self-consciousness about who you are, etc., at that point you can develop absolutely individual touch of style. And this is the way Maria Grazia Chiuri created the collection. Evidently, it is directed to young generation. We're always talking about a big change in consumers market. The main consumers nowadays are new generations born from 2000 and till now. This is what is clear from those examples. Why gardening? Gardening because the Monsieur Dior and her family, they used to live in the countryside with a big garden with roses and other flowers and plants, etc. So that was the idea, to put together a kind of college style and gardening style. Something more about collaborations. More examples we can mention: Moncler Genius, Gucci plus Balenciaga, Prada plus Ralph Simons, and Supreme plus Emilio Pucci. Let's have a look on Emilio Pucci. The inspiration is skating. Emilio Pucci brand is famous for the colorful prints, but the style, lifestyle of young generation, every time about young generation, is very often about skating. So instead of traditional customers, the brand Emilio Pucci is looking also on a new young fashion consumers, new approach to attract young fashion consumers. So it means Supreme is about sportswear, and Emilio Pucci is about sophisticated prints. Other examples: Dior plus Jordan, Prada plus Adidas. So combination of traditional fashion houses with famous brands in sportwear. This is just the collection is for skating or inspired by skating, in collaboration between Emilio Pucci as a print typical from Emilio Pucci and Supreme as sportswear. Then Moncler Genius. Moncler Genius started actually from 2017. Instead of creating the collection with only one designer, Mr. Remo Ruffini, the owner of this Italian brand, started to invite more designers to create the season collection. And it's been a very successful idea. And the owner of the brand said the idea was to talk to different generations, the young and urban, women looking for a coat for a special occasion, and people who take a more conceptual approach. So you have to consider a variety of consumers nowadays, not the main one as it was before, but even including very young. So some examples from this last collection. This is from Chinese designer. This is from Simone Rocha, etc. So everybody interpreting the idea in more ways and not just through the view of one single designer. Just about this collaboration, Moncler Genius, you can see what said the designer of Valentino House, Piccioli. What impressed me about Remo's project, Moncler Genius, and Craig Green, it was a collaboration with one of British designers. So what impressed me about Remo's project was the idea of freedom, the idea of individuality, says Piccioli, the designer of Valentino, whose collaboration will arrive in October. He too participates in this project. It was kind of democratic. So this is the main idea, to offer more views on fashion and not just only one decided by the main designer of house. Collaboration to celebrate 100 years of Gucci. Well, different events. The collaboration between Gucci and Balenciaga. Both brands belong to Kering Group, so it was collaboration within the same house at the end. Why? This is the announce of this collaboration. Why? Because the brand Gucci announced that it was the idea to bring street style touch within the Gucci collections. It seems that Balenciaga style is more gives more idea of something spontaneous. So that was for sure for marketing. And the same for marketing. We have seen the launch of the film dedicated to Gucci brand, and the issue of the last film, House of Gucci, with Lady Gaga as interpreter of the main character in this film. So there are more events to promote the brand. Actually, the brand Gucci faced less successful campaign of sales during last last year, so and the beginning of this year. So everything is useful to push the interest, to revive the interest for the brand. And it seems that Balenciaga commercially sells better than than before. Meanwhile, Gucci a little bit less than before. So it is always not only creative but also commercial ideas. Another initiative from Gucci to push the interest and popularity of the brand, there are pop-up stores in Milan, Berlin, London, called Gucci Circolo. Gucci Club means Circolo. Because it is about sensorial experience. It is not just fashion, but something which involves many senses. And food, as I said, is more successful nowadays on the market than fashion. So let's put together food, cafe, restaurants, and fashion too. There are many cafes and restaurants opened recently by so-called luxury fashion brands. The last among them are pop-up dinner Bottega Veneta in Miami, Café Mandang Hermès in Seoul, Café Jacquemus in Paris, and Dior is opening its first restaurant in Paris. You see the combination of fashion and food. This is the picture of Gucci Club in Milan. It was a temporary installation, finished just 2 weeks ago. You see typical vintage furniture from Gucci and sweets presented in this old-fashioned way. And there is tea room with suites like this, and also listening lounge with old long playing records from famous artists and playlist edited to celebrate 100 years of Gucci. So sensorial approach from fashion, food, and music. This is the Gucci restaurant in Beverly Hills in Los Angeles, and other examples from Gucci in other cities. What is interesting is about erogenous zone, how they change through the different time in fashion. Just two examples at first, Prada and Miu Miu. The inspiration comes from 1960s, and both of them, Prada and Ralph Simons, they've had the same view. Prada actually is always inspired by 1960s because it was beginning of new era, not only generally as society, but especially for women emancipation. So this is just the view on Prada collection. What we see is that, okay, the body is covered, no décolleté, no bra or things like that, but typical 60s silhouette, very, very mini and straight, not showing breasts, waist or hips. It's absolutely 60s, when the young girls started to refuse curvaceous look of their mothers, of the adult generation women. And new detail, instead of putting logo Prada, it's just the triangle, which remembers the logo Prada as a metal triangle, but it's not a triangle with written Prada, but just in the same fabric as the rest of the of the garment. What we see here, which one is the erogenous zone? Legs, 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 not else. Look at this, deliberately not showing any curve of feminine body, no breast, no waist, no hips, long, even long. So the women refuse to be on the market as just flesh to show. And this is typical from Miuccia Prada attitude and typical from Raf Simons attitude. On the back, there is a big split till the bottom. Well, I'm thinking how to sit with this kind of skirt. It's not actually hygienic to sit everywhere with this kind of shirt. Anyway, it just shows that the erogenous zone is not the same one as before. It's on the back or legs, but no breast, no waist, no hips. And this is about self-conscious women. But at the same time, you see the knitwear with two pieces of how to say iron pieces as we use normally within the bra. So it is a joke. It is not to hide completely feminine body, but to show it in completely different way. So playing with new ways to show the feminine side. Of course, if you see this image, they are clearly addressed to the young generation, absolutely. But at the same time, we can say that this idea of wearing shorts every time in the city and everywhere came some years ago from the street. It's not something created as idea by fashion designers. It came from the street, and fashion brands are just satisfying the demand for this kind of short, very short trousers. Miu Miu collection, shorts plus bra, the same. It's not traditional way to be feminine. And another brand, Act Number One, presented in Milan, knickers plus bra, playing with underwear in masculine and in feminine collections. Then another very popular theme in different collections, they were crinolines and lingerie from the past. Balenciaga, Miu Miu, Noir Kei, Ninomiya, the Japanese designer presenting his collections in Tokyo. Why? This is from Miu Miu, a big crinoline hiding completely the body. Other examples from Miu Miu. It is opposite to what we have seen from many brands in fashion, tight-fitting feminine dresses, like kind of under vacuum fit, but exactly opposite. And this is something from the Japanese Ken Noir Ninomiya. Very interesting. You see flesh color, typical for traditional lingerie, but with new technologies as 3D print and using the idea of old fashion lingerie, but just the idea. For the rest is absolutely modern and original, really beautiful, laced as corsets, but they are not corsets, but jackets, etc. Really beautiful. I would suggest you to see the video because you can see the back of the dresses, maybe more revealing the inspiration from corsets and laces, etc. It's all from the same Japanese designer. Transparency, another example from Giorgio Armani collection. And then Sportmax and Alexander McQueen. Sportmax, you see the way to close corsets, the bones, but used in an unusual way. You see the way to close corsets, but here, or the color, actually beige flesh color is very popular in the next spring summer season. So at one hand we see bright, very bright colors, and the other hand we see something very sweet, feminine, and intimate. So this is all from Sportmax, and this is from the collection Alexander McQueen, designed by Sarah Burton. The same idea. And two colors, actually, black or flesh color, as traditional lingerie was. This is what Sarah Burton said. The inspiration was the sky. Some days it can be kind of very calm, and then this kind of ferocious sky. I've been thinking about what we've all been through, this constant feeling that you don't know what the next day is going to be, and how you have to just face it with bravery. The fact is, we are not in control of the situation. Nature is more powerful than us. Sun, rain, storm, whatever comes, you have to just keep going on. Very strong. And I put here only the inspiration from lingerie, very soft, very feminine. But in the same collection, sorry, you see not only calm and beautiful sky, but also ferocious sky when Sarah Burton used leather jackets and denim, etc. So it is very interesting to see this collection. I'm absolutely sure we don't know what we have to face, but we have to be ready to face everything, sun, rain, storm, whatever comes. Anti-body shaming. Well, this is a big campaign from the social point of view against the body shaming. The campaign is called Love Your Body, and I give you just two examples from last Milanese collections. On the left side is Miu Miu, on the right side is a new designer Marcus Tondo. Well, we couldn't see anything like this at the time of Christian Dior, of course, but now we are against the idea to be ashamed about our body, not considering our personality as it is. So it's me. This is the slogan. It's me. And vintage. More and more important way to sell and to buy fashion. Vintage renting from luxury brands. Gucci sells directly its own vintage on the site Gucci.com. A vintage platform Vinted arrives in Italy born in Lithuania in 2008. It sells now their pre-loved stuff in France, Germany, Belgium, Netherlands, Austria, Poland, UK, USA, and Italy now too. Well, I must say that it is getting more and more popular in Italy, even if it comes recently. But I know sophisticated people from my friends, journalists. They buy from Vinted, not selling probably, but buying from Vinted in Italy. Then another example, fashion and critical consumption, H&M. They work in this field of sustainable fashion, etc., since years. And now they have this innovation circular design story. It is about recycling and reusing. It is about recycling uh, materials, fashion materials, as nylon, etc. But the idea is to make them very interesting, not just because of correct behavior, but they have to be also very appealing, not just correct. So since early 2021, H&M Innovation Stories has further its sustainability agenda with a series of themes collections. The fourth edition is called Circular Design Story. Joy was the central inspiration for the circular collection, Joy. We were really interested in creating a collection that pushed forward conversations around recycling and reusing fashion materials while making something that was beautiful, bold, and optimistic. This is very important because at the beginning we were thinking mostly about to be correct, but now it is very appealing. This is another example from H&M collection. We felt that people had a particular vision in their mind when you talk about sustainable fashion. Uh, as I said, probably correct but boring. Just mm, uh, to explain a certain particular vision on sustainable fashion, and we wanted to challenge that with a bright fashion-focused collection that is designed with circularity in mind. All styles of fashion, including the exuberant and the glamorous, can be sustainable, says Ella Soccorsi, the concept designer of H&M. And this is another example from the same policy circular design story. H&M has developed fashion pieces to be used, reused, and recycled when necessary. In addition, to the use of innovative materials, priority has been given to parts made from single material and assembled with a soluble wire to facilitate recycling at the end of their life. It is very important for designers nowadays try to use a single material, only one, because if you put together leather, cotton, nylon, etc., it is impossible to recycle a garment made with different materials. It's not possible. So the goal of designers nowadays try to use the same material, and the way to sewing, to assembling them, easy to split it in singular pieces for recovering the material and fibers. Among the more sustainable and innovative materials H&M introduced into its collection in recent years, there is a pineapple leaf, hemp, uh, waste or even recycle glass. So trying to use more natural materials existing already. A creative restyling. This is a very good example. This brand Butter and Snatch exists since years, and they are very nice. For example, they use the shorts, men's shorts, traditional, to make lovely lingerie. London Barrister freely brief from London Barrister short in cotton, knickers, frivolous knickers. A one-off brief, freely knickers cut from recycled Lippmann short with original labels. This short is genuine ex-London Barrister, upcycled from an original short made by Lippmann and Son, who are a small family-run company that have been dressing the men of the West End of London for both work and formal occasion for over 75 years. And this is an example of new lingerie made with men's short, keeping the label on it. And the same brand, Butters and Snatch, they collect and recover laces. So what they do with laces? Look, beautiful lingerie in a kind of past century style, or in a kind of seductive style of lingerie. So all of our beautiful lace is either vintage pieces or sourced from waste stock leftovers. Fine black lingerie is classically seductive, sheer, and exciting. I have carefully collected lace and tulle from many years, and I'm very particular about quality and beauty of design. I treasure precious vintage pieces with qualities that will never be reproduced, as many of our producers have stopped operating in the UK, and looms have been sold or decommissioned. So it is very precious, something unique to be recovered and used in a creative way. This is another way to for recycling. Redress shops, rent a rack second hand. This is in Los Angeles, in the trendiest area called Atwater. Recently opened Redress, the new concept vintage shop. The concept Rent a Rack to sell vintage comes to Los Angeles from Finland, but since about 10 years, it exists also in in other North European countries such as Netherlands, Denmark, Switzerland, Iceland, Norway, and Estonia. Rent a rack means that you can't rent a space as a rack in the shop to put your stuff to sell. This is life is too short to wear boring clothes. How it works: a client books books online a week to rent a rack in the shop where to display stuff to sell, bring stuff to the shop, deciding prices, and publishing the advices on social networks. At the end of the week of renting the rack, the client collects money from what have been sold. In the shop, there are dressing rooms to try everything. It seems a very good way to recycle fashion items, giving them a second life. And this is another idea from H&M. Sustainable rental program. What it is? H&M launches a remarkable initiative under the name 1 Second Suit. The company will rent out suits for men primarily at men who are applying for new jobs, especially young men with few money in the pocket, I would say. First impression sticks. It has been adequately proven that making a good first impression is crucial when applying for a job. Through their new rental service, H&M wants to support men regarding this matter so that they can make a powerful first impression during a job interview. And this is a very nice idea. And Burberry also enters into a rental and resale deal. They made an agreement with My Wardrobe HQ, the company specialized in web store, and 40% of the rental price will go to the charity. Under the new deal, a range of staple Burberry pieces are available for periods up to 2 weeks via My Wardrobe HQ web store. It's the first rental and resale offering in the UK for the luxury label, with the offer comprising key Burberry pieces donated by customers, a move that aims to champion a more circular future and help customers consider all options available to them when they're looking to refresh their wardrobes. Supporting the principles of a more circular economy is key in achieving our ambition to be climate positive by 2040. So the last one example, collection on the road from Dior, fall 2022, inspired by Jack Kerouac. Jack Kerouac, the American writer whose book On the Road is very famous, translated in many languages. So the idea of the way to present collection came from that book, On the Road, moving people, and the catwalk was presented as pages from that book, as you can see, and models walking on those pages. What we can say about absolutely individual way to mix stuff together. Put the stuff as you like. No formal traditional style. This is something we mentioned last year as the trend, but especially it is about, it concerns the young generation. They don't want to look like their fathers, as the philosopher Guy Debord said. You see the combination of wool, jeans, golden, shiny fabrics, everything you like. There is one thing to say, even if young generation, they are looking on personal look, mixing, etc. The specialists say that logo addiction comes back again. So people love to exhibit logo. When I showed you the bags from Balenciaga collection, the logo Balenciaga is invisible, very small one, hidden some way. But here you see logo of the book, Jack Kerouac. So it's clearly connected with Dior collection or other examples. And another example from menswear, the brand Vêtements, designed by the brother of Demna Gvasalia, the designer of Balenciaga. Meanwhile, his brother Guram Gvasalia designs Vêtements. And it is a kind of sarcastic or ironic view on what he made. Money can't make me happy, but wetlands can. For new Bitcoin millionaires. What is about? He took traditional shapes like this beige color coat. Usually this kind of coat was made in camel wool or cashmere wool with this typical natural color. Meanwhile, Vetman is doing the same idea of classical item, but with jersey with pile, absolutely normal materials, not expensive materials. So it is another example of mixture between a street style attitude and fashion. Bold, cheap, deliberately cheap material, this kind of elastic velvet is something very cheap. It's not expensive. And you see behind there are wools with reproduced banknotes, money. That's all for today. Sorry, it's the first page, came back.
Thank you, Luba.
We just the last sentence about Vetma. I've been looking to go back, sorry, to the images. So Guram Gvasalia said about the idea of this collection. It's a mixture of street style and couture. Initially, in the past, couturiers, haute couture category used to dress aristocracy, European aristocracy. Then in 20th century came rich people from industry, from petrol companies, from stock exchange, etc. But now there is a new category of very rich, suddenly rich people dealing with bitcoins. This is a virtual kind of money. But as it happened in other historical times, when you speculate with something which gives quickly big money, soon or later it will be facing big loss of money. So it seems enjoy now, but you don't know if you will continue to remain rich for a long. That was the idea in this collection. A kind of advice of unfortunate possible fall. That's it.
Excellent, bravo, thank you. Well, we should give you
thank you.
We should give you applauses, you know,
thank
to have
you,
such amazing presentation with so much information. Oh my God, I wrote, you know, several pages. Yeah, but we that's good that we have questions. And
yes, please.
One of the finalists of the competition, she wrote kind of long explaining the question. She switched on camera, so yeah, Ona, you can ask your question directly to Luba.
Yes.
Thank you, Luba, for the lecture. Very interesting. And
thank you.
Yeah, my question would be: do not ask about the digitalization and basically, what is your opinion about this? Let's say importance of virtual fashion in our wardrobe. Will our wardrobe become less tangible within this, let's say, metaverse-driven world? And for example, today we were hit by the news from Business of Fashion that the virtual Birking bag called Meta Birking sale as NFT had reached almost like 800,000 in dollars, and since its launch in November. So will our closet have the space for the both items, let's say real one and digitized one, whether there will be a replacement in part or in full?
It is a very interesting question. It is a new subject, as you know, and we have to see how it will be developed. The idea is to virtually have the possess of luxury items, but it is virtually possession, not real one. A kind of snobbish joke for now, but we will see the development eventually of this system. Yes, it's starting with other brands thinking to join this system too. We will see, actually. It's something absolutely new, and who knows?
Yeah, that's very good question. As we are using virtual backgrounds, that's only next step to start wearing virtual clothes, I think, and apparel.
Virtual money as bitcoins and virtual clothes, and normally they goes together.
Yeah, because how my dress really or no, that's the fiction. But I like you mentioned that new generation is taking the lead in spending, so they are kind of making huge changes. Even if we compare what's happened during last year, the tempo is so high, change is happening so quickly.
Yes.
So exactly. I'm curious and afraid of thinking about what we will talk of after the year. And you said that we see there's a lot of these colorful clothes on the models, but at the same time you're saying that we should look for simple material use for every piece to be easily recycled.
Yes.
And how you see in a Latvia context? Latvia is a small country. We have passed the Soviet times, so we are not so recognized in the global fashion world. What you see is our place, how our designers can gain recognition internationally. Is it even possible?
Well, this is the question, not only in Latvia, but also in Italy, etc. What president of Italian Chamber of Fashion said recently is absolutely true. What he said, that for small brands, it's very difficult nowadays to stay on the market, because the e-commerce is very important now because of pandemic, difficulty to travel, etc. But to deal with e-commerce requires important investments. It means that you have to have specialists in creating sites in a proper way, appealing way. They need good photographers. You need good people making videos, and experts in marketing online, etc. So he said it is very difficult for small, relatively small, I mean, compared with Hermes or Prada, it's very difficult to stay on the market with this kind of expenses to face. So it's not about being talented. The question is not, I'm doing beautiful things, right things or not. It's more about the possibility to stay on the market nowadays. But anyway, there are small brands dealing with e-commerce just try to do it. What to say? And sometimes from e-commerce, you have been noticed by a big group which put money in your company, in your brand. This is the way also to show what you can do, what is your style, what is your appealing side, etc. So it is important anyway to show your collections on internet or physically, to be noticed by an investor. So look for investors putting money in your talent, and then it will be possible to stay on the market, which requires expenses for the specialists I mentioned before: video, e-commerce, marketing, etc., etc. So just insist, stay, and show what you do.
Yeah, you are right, that it's not there's not means you are, you are creative and that's enough. You will sit and wait until someone will notice you, but you should be proactive. Yeah, telling the story of what you do, and telling a story in the way it's really it captures, it drives the interest to others. So it means even young fashion designers, those who are listening to us now, they should study communications, so they should be ready to take kind of proactive lead to tell the story of their idea, and how it finished in end result, in the end product. Yeah, that's a complex thing, I think, for designers who who were
but stay showing your products, your ideas, to be noticed, etc. Maybe meanwhile selling just individually, because this is something which market requires too. Individual, tailor-made, custom-made, etc. Plus showing on a big systems on the internet, or if there are events with collective presentations. So just insist to show, and meanwhile maybe working on small scale as custom made or things like that.
Yes, that's kind of good advice to you designers, young fashion designers. So yeah, I don't see any hand raised, but don't be shy. You can even ask in Latvian question. I can translate, because I think there's a huge opportunity to have a conversation. Someone is shy. I received direct message, so I will do the short translation.
Yes.
So there's the question: Have you give advice on which materials we should work on? Do we need to focus on local Latvian materials as linen, or we can broaden our views?
Linen actually is getting more popular among young people. For example, men are looking on shorts and suits, trousers in linen, because with the hot climate we have now, linen is perfect for summer weather. So linen is a very good one idea for the summer collections, for sure. But not only for summer, because linen can be also heavy material, not only light shorts. It's okay. Actually, there is a certain direction on local materials and on local productions. I mentioned pineapple fibers, or other kind of hemp fiber, and other orange threads, made with orange waste, etc. So it exists, and it is a good idea. It's not only about technological fabrics to be recycled, but natural, very welcome.
Yeah, that's good, because even mentioned during your presentation that because of the pandemics and limitation of all available resources and fabrics, we started to be more creative. Even we noticed that through applications for the fashion designers contest, that it looks like students become more creative because they were not able to order fabrics from somewhere Italy that they wanted. So they looked in local store, in shop, in their wardrobe, and then they redesign something.
Exactly.
I think, yeah, that's a good way too, designers to look to the second market and redesign, use again. Yeah, print, do prints. You said logotypes will not disappear.
Exactly. But also there are changes in supply of materials. For example, because of problems with China, with pandemic, etc., we have very few silk fabrics, because Italy produces traditionally beautiful silk fabrics, but silk comes from China as a raw silk and then transformed here in beautiful fabrics. Now, from China, we don't have so many possibilities to have materials, not only for textile, but generally. It is very difficult. There is a lack of supply in electronics, in other fields of production. So we would be better looking for local resources.
That's good, because then you don't face delays or face less delays,
and the costs, growing costs too.
Yeah, so looking more local, like if you are part of Nordics, then look for Nordic countries that the supply chains, local supply chains, yeah, not cross bordering and not cross EU.
For example, you can use fish skin, which is also mentioned in sustainability politics. Fish skins, then linen, wool, I suppose something else can be found as traditional materials, fibers, techniques, etc.
Yes, and I have all. I think, yeah, we see artists. Yeah, you
Hi,
are.
artists. Lovely
hello,
to see you.
Hello, hello. Nice to see you here.
I'm happy. I'm happy to see you on the screen. Better than nothing.
Yes. I have one question. You talk about this natural fabrics, but what about some maybe new artificial fabrics, and what's the tendency of these artificial fabrics?
Atypical, not natural?
Artificial, yes, artificial, non-natural, yes.
Yes. First of all, we have a lot of examples. Actually, I didn't extend this part of sustainability because it was more focused, my speech, on different strategies. But eventually, there is a big use of plastic bottles to create nylon, polymer threads, fibers, and they are practically eternal. You can recycle them in an endless way, nylon and polymer materials as plastic bottles. There are a lot of examples like this. So it is actually growing as the type of fabrics nowadays. like polymer, polyester, nylon, all this kind. Yes, absolutely. We can't stay without it. Also in paddings, for example, the natural feather more and more replaced by synthetic materials because we don't want to treat in a bad way poor gooses, birds, and so they are beautiful performing materials made with plastic bottles recycled in a new materials. So this is a main way, I would say.
Yeah, you actually, that's a huge kind of topic I think to discuss even for next discussions or lectures, because as you mentioned, these synthetic artificial materials, high performing materials, they are a big thing, because to compare even natural fabrics qualities, it becoming more better performance than natural, and
Yes.
taking in account that we are using natural
Yes.
sources.
Absolutely.
So, and even I think for students and for artists, that the main question for Latvia is how to find out the source, actual source for good information, because in these artificial high performance fabrics, synthetic ones, everything is changing, I think, every not minute, but days. And to be aware of these new materials and qualities and how to use them, I think that's very important aspect to place in agenda in schools somehow.
I can mention a special fabric produced in Italy. Sensitive is the name, produced by Italian brand here in the north of Italy. It's something amazing. It can be thin, it can be heavier. It is fresh in the summer. It is cold, warm in the winter time. You can wash it in a washing machine, just hanging, no ironing, no wrinkles. It's absolutely fantastic. And there are many brands working with this fabric called Sensitive. You can find it on internet. What it is, the fiber, it is nylon. It is nylon recycled, recycled and recycled, and it's fantastic. Big brands using this this fabric, and I have a lot of stuff from this fabric, and I adore it. Simply adore it.
Thank you. Yeah. Have anyone any other questions or comments to our speaker? If not, then we say huge, great thanks to you. We become more knowledge, more aware of trends and real fashion industry situation. We hope you seeing again in life, physically in Riga one day after pandemics. But maybe at the end, what are your wishes to fashion designers competition participants? What you would say to them as good words for?
Let's be optimistic, and thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be with you, even virtually. So thank you very much. Eventually, if there will be other questions, please write me, and I will answer for sure.
Thank you once more.
Thank you.
Now we will switch to Latvian to explain about next lecture we will have on Friday. So, jā, paldies, klātesošie. Es tikai pasakos jums par dalību un atgādinu, ka piekdien šajā pašā laikā 4:00 mums būs prezentācija. Es izstāstīšu, mēs Latvijas dizaina centrs jums izstāstīsim par konkursu. Starptautisku konkursu, ko īsteno Turcijas dizaina padome sadarbībā ar Eiropas dizaina centriem, kurš saucas amatniecība no Antolas un dizains no Eiropas. Tas ir vairāk mērķa adresāts ir dizaineri un arī modas dizaineri, kuriem būs iespēja radīt dizainus 5 dažādām amatniecības pratībām, no kuras 2 ir saistītas ar modi. Tātad no 5 nosaukšu, lai jums ir tāds tīzeris ziņkārai un jūs piekdien 4 pieslēgtos. Viens no tām materialitātēm, amatniecības tradīcijām, kuru amatnieki grib izkopt un radīt dizainu, ir filts kā materiāls, otrs ir stepēšana, un tur jau mēs redzam, ka modes dizaina konkursā mums ir pieteikumi, un tad 3 citas ir izteikti dizaina kvalitātes, kas ir grebšana kokā, akmenī un keramika. Bet man šķiet, ka tās 2, kas ir filts un stepēšana, gan mums ir tāda laba bāze mums Latvijā ir, un noteikti tad pieslēdzaties piekdien 4, mūsu sociālajos tīklos būs linki un informācija, un tad mēs parādīsim gan video, kurā ir parādīti tā amatnieki, gan arī izstāstīsim par noteikumiem. Vispārēji balvā izvēlētie dizaini iegūs naudas balvu un iespēju nedēļu atrasties Turcijā un radīt šo te dizaina paraugu. Amatnieku darbnīcās 2 dizaina paraugus. Vienu vajadzēs atstāt Turcijā un otru varēsiet ņemt līdzi uz mājām. Paldies vēlreiz. Thank you, Liubov, once again.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just told
I wish you a big success with your young designers competition, and thank you very much.
And see you on Monday when you will be head of the
sure.
jury.
Yes, sure. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.